Hello, it's Sonia here with The Pretty Stitch. Welcome to my channel. If this is your first time joining me, I'm so happy to have you here. So today we are going to be making a scarf, and I actually have a name for it. Usually a lot of patterns that I make when I film, I don't have a name for it yet, but this one I do, and it's going to be called the Everyone Scarf because everyone can wear it. You can make it for the guys, the girls, little kids, older kids, teenagers, tweens, you name it. This scarf is for everyone. And you can use just about whatever yarn you would like or whatever hook size you would like. So for the demonstration, I am going to be using my J hook or 6mm hook. And I'm just going to have some worsted weight yarn. And I'm already working on a scarf. Let me grab it for you. So here is the scarf I'm currently working on, and as you can see, I'm using two different colors. I have like this green color, and then I have this multicolored yellows and greens and whites. It's actually really pretty. It's some old vintage yarn that I found in my stash, and I actually really like this color combination. So as you can see, you could use one color, you could use two colors. I'm just going to use the two colors. Let's say if you were making it for a little girl, you could do, the pinkiest of pink colors or purple, whatever, you wanted to do, or a little boy, have more like my son. He likes very boring colors, so like navy blue. Gray, that would be more his speed. Not that there's anything wrong with those. I tend to be more of a brighter colored gal myself, but he likes those more sedate, muted colors. So you can definitely have fun with this one, and you can make this scarf as long as you would like, as short as you would like. It's completely up to you. So I'm going to show you. So this scarf is going to be more of a tutorial, and you can use my exact stitch counts if you would like to, but you don't have to. I tend to like very long scarves, so mine's going to be quite long, and that one's going to be for me. I usually make myself a scarf every winter. It's just a thing that I do. I love scarves, and one that I would wear with my coat. And my coat is actually green, so that will match very nicely. Alright, so for that scarf that I'm currently making, I'm actually using an I hook. I wanted to use my J, couldn't find it at the time, but I did just find my J hook. But you could, an I hook works perfectly fine, but I did want to use a J. And again, you could use a G hook, like if you were using lighter weight yarn, you could pair it with a G hook, an H hook. It doesn't matter. You could use fuzzy or furry yarn. I don't really suggest that, because you aren't going to see the stitch pattern very well, but it's a very versatile pattern. So what you're going to want to do is you're going to make a chain, and this scarf is made lengthwise. You're going to make your chain as long as you want your scarf. Sometimes you start at like the short end of the scarf and then you work your way up like that. This one, you actually make the chain as long as you want your scarf. But you need to have your chain in a multiple of 3 plus 1. So my chain that I started for my green and multicolored scarf was actually 301. I know that's a lot of chains, but as I said, I like a very long scarf, and once you get that chain under your belt and you get going, it's fine. Now what I did when I did chain that huge long chain is I did use stitch markers to mark like every 50 chains to help me make sure I have the right amount. And even if you don't, if let's say you have too many, you can just take out a couple little chains at the end, and at the end of your first row, if you're like, oh, I chained too much, it's fine. Alright, but I'm going to show you the demonstration here. So why don't we chain 25? Alright, so I have 25 chains because 8 times 3 is 24, and then I add 1, it's 25. So pretend this could be like a little doll scarf here. So this is going to be my length of my scarf. And what you're going to want to do is in your second chain from your hook, so I'm going to work in the back bump. So we're going to turn it over on the other side, and I'm just going to insert my hook in that back bump and pull up a loop. I'm going to skip my next chain, insert my hook into the next one, and pull up a loop. So now I have 3 loops on my hook. I'm going to yarn over, pull through all 3. So this is actually a stitch of the week that I did a few weeks ago, and I just thought it was such a pretty stitch, and I think it just looks super beautiful in the scarf. So after you do that, you're going to chain 1. And you've made like a little baby cluster there. Alright, so what you're going to do is you're going to go right back into this stitch, pull up a loop. You're going to skip this next chain and go into the next one. Pull up loops. We have 3 loops. Yarn over, pull through all 3. And you'll chain 1 to complete your stitch. And we're going to do that all the way across. I'm going right back into that stitch, pulling up my loop, skipping my next chain, and going into the next one, pulling up a loop, and I'm pulling through all 3 of those loops, and I'm going to chain 1. And I'm going to keep going across my chain, so right back in that stitch, skipping the next chain and working into the next one, and pulling through all 3, chaining 1. So I'm going to keep going across my chain here. Okay, so now I'm at my last 2 chains. I'm going to skip this one, insert my hook into the last one there, pull up a loop. So I've got my 3 loops. I'm going to yarn over, pull through all 3. I'm going to chain 1, and then to finish out my row, you're going to also pop in a single crochet in that same stitch there, and then your row 1 is complete. So to work row 2, and then you're going to repeat row 2 for however wide you would want your scarf. So I'm not quite sure how many, I'm still working on mine and my color combination. I think I have like 3, I did 3 rows of the solid color, and then I know I have 4 rows of the multicolored, and I think I'm going to do 2 rows of the solid color and then 4 rows. So I'm still working out my color combination, but you can, you know, figure out your own color combination however you would like it. Alright, so to begin row 2, you're going to chain 1 and turn your work. And we are going to insert our hook right in that same stitch, pull up a loop. So if you turn it this way, you're going to skip the next stitch. So it kind of looks a little tricky, you know, as where to work, but it's really, don't overthink it, it's not that hard. So if you turn it, you can see the tops of the stitches. So there's a stitch, there's a stitch. See, they look like little V's. So you're going to skip your next V here and insert your hook into the next one. Pull up your loop. Going to yarn over, pull through all 3, chain 1. So now we're going to go right back into this stitch. It's a cluster stitch. I love me some clusters. You're going to pull up a loop, cluster and shell stitches. I think they're so pretty. Alright, so we are going to skip our next stitch and go into the next one. Pull up a loop, so we have our 3 loops, yarn over, pull through all 3, chain 1. So you're going to keep doing that across, so right back on the same stitch, pull up a loop, skip the next one, go into the next one, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through all 3, and chain 1. So what this does is just creates a really nice textured scarf. I think it just looks really pretty. And it's definitely suitable. You know, it's not too girly. It's not like, you know, completely too masculine either. It's just, like I said, it's suitable for everybody. It just is a very nice stitch. Also would be nice in a blanket too, I think. I think you could do a lot with it. Or if you, a sweater, whatever. However you would want to use the stitch, but I'm using it for a scarf. And the nice thing about this stitch is it's fairly reversible, so especially with a scarf, you know, especially when you have some scarves, you know, it's the one side is the main side and then the other side it's kind of like, oh. But when you wear a scarf, you don't necessarily keep your scarf all on one side. So I prefer scarves that are reversible if I can, and this one definitely fits the bill there. Alright, so we're getting to the end of our row. I'm pulling up my loop, so I'm skipping this stitch here and going to the last one there, pulling up my loop, yarning over, pulling through all three, chaining one, and to complete it you will pop in your single crochet at the end. And then your row 2 is complete. So you can see the nice texture there. So we'll work one more row, and you're going to repeat row 2, as I said, for however long you would want. And if you do want to change colors, why don't I show you how to do that? It's very easy. So let me find some other yarn here. Alright, so I have some other yarn. Doesn't really, I guess it looks okay with this, but so let's say you wanted to change to this color here. So you're going to work your last stitch, your single crochet, and before, normally you would just pull through both of those. What you'd want to do is just finish that stitch off with the next color you want to use. And if you were doing, let's say, every other color, you could even carry your work. Actually, you would do one color this way, and then you'd go back, change your colors, and then you'd go back. Then you could carry your work up the one side, because I'm always a fan of, trying to have as less ends as possible. Alright, so we're going to chain one, and we'll do another row. And you're going to insert your hook right in that same stitch, pull up a loop, and then you skip the next stitch right here. So we turn it over, see there's that stitch, we're going to skip that one, and we're going to go into the next one, pull up a loop, pull through all three of those guys, and we're going to chain one. We're going to insert a hook right back in that same stitch, pull up a loop, skip the next stitch, insert it into the next one, yarn over, pull through all three, chain one. So as you can see, once you get your groove, like, you can really move with this stitch. This is a nice one to, watch some Netflix. You don't have to think about it too much, and you can really just kind of cruise along with this one. Great for that, like if you have a last minute gift that you need to make for somebody. Sometimes you just need those projects that are just fast, easy, but yet still look really great when they're done. Now for my scarf, we are not adding any fringe or anything like that. I think it looks, really nice without it. I mean, you can certainly add whatever fringe or, whatever decorative element you wanted to on the ends, but we're keeping it kind of just classic and simple. So now I'm at my last stitch here, chaining one and single crochet in that last stitch, and you can see how quickly I was able to work that third round. So you can see on this side, now you will see the color change, but I actually kind of like that. I think it looks kind of cool. Seeing the other color kind of peek through, it just adds a little bit of interest. But the stitches look really nice on both sides. So here I am pulling up my sample. So this is the one side of my, this is my actual scarf that I'm making, and then here's the other side. But I actually kind of like that. I think it looks nice. I don't think it, looks bad. But you can see the stitch pattern looks good on, so if you're looking at just the solid color, it looks good on both sides, which is really nice when making a scarf. So as I said before, you can make this as wide as you want. I'm probably going to have it, I like my scarves kind of wide, so I'm not sure how wide that is, maybe 7-8 inches wide. And I'm not sure how long this guy is. I need to measure it, but it's pretty long. I like long scarves. I'm kind of like, the Doctor Who scarf when it's super long. That's kind of my vibe. So you don't have to do that. I like to loop it around my neck a couple times. But I will add some measurements. So if you were interested in making my scarf using my exact formula, then I will add that on the end screen. So again, just keep repeating row 2 for however wide you want your scarf, and then when you're done, you of course would want to weave in all of your ends, block your scarf if you needed to, and you're all set to go. And you could, as I said before, add a fringe I'm not going to add a fringe. I think the edges look nice and clean. They look fine. I don't think this one is going to require a fringe or an edging, but you know, certainly you can do that to personalize it if you would like. So I hope you enjoyed this project, and I thank you so much for watching.